This is Hytale, or at least this is the version of Hytale that broke the internet back in 2018. This footage you're seeing was made by a team that started as modders on a Minecraft server. They were literally teenagers and young adults running a server called Hypixel, managing millions of logins just trying to make fun mini games. From that same server team, they would find a lead developer who had never shipped a standalone game before. At the height of the project's early days, the team was mostly self-taught creators scattered around the globe, working remotely, and to top it off, they were funding the development of Hytale with the pocket change they had earned from selling items in a Minecraft server. This is the story about a team of modders who built a Minecraft server so popular, it earned them a meeting with the creators of League of Legends. It's a story about an indie studio getting handed a blank check and crashing back down to earth. For 5 years, Riot Games was the savior of this project. We thought that their infinite budget and advisory role guaranteed success, but in reality, that partnership led to the most controversial decision in the game's history. Just 6 months ago, the project was canceled by Riot and subsequently reacquired by the Hypixel team. So this begs the question, how did a game that was killed by a AAA giant in June 2025 manage to rise from the grave and launch just 6 months later, breaking every measurable record in the process? I'm Pounder McNasty, and I make videos covering the development cycles of your favorite games. If you enjoy the content this channel has, I'd appreciate it if you took a moment to hit subscribe. Today, we go over the insane development cycle of Hytale. Hytale's journey technically began back in 2015, but the roots go back way further. To understand how this all started, you have to understand just how big Hypixel was. Back in 2015, Simon and Philippe, the two creators of Hypixel, weren't just running a game studio, they were running the internet's biggest playground. They founded the Hypixel server in 2013, and for years, they pushed the boundaries of what Minecraft could do. They made full MMOs inside of Minecraft. They made competitive shooters inside of Minecraft. The Hypixel server had millions of unique logins. They had essentially built an MMO inside of Minecraft's limited Java engine. But eventually, they hit a wall. As you would expect from building a game inside of another game, they were shackled by the limitations of the Minecraft engine and the end user license agreement of Mojang. Mojang's changes to their EULA and the limits of the Minecraft client meant they couldn't build the features they wanted for Hypixel. They were tired of the hackers they couldn't ban and engine limitations they couldn't fix. They had ambitions that went beyond being shoehorned into a Java-based mod. They knew that the dream game they wanted to make, a true RPG sandbox with deep combat and creator tools, could never be built inside of Minecraft. So they decided to do the impossible. They quit modding to pursue their own ambitions. They needed their own engine. They would embark on their journey to create a brand new engine by themselves, funded entirely by the money made from Hypixel. The small grassroots team, now formally known as Hypixel Studios, began by exploring what they could build, with Noxy, who started as a map maker, eventually stepping up as the face of the project, and a team of modders turned developers. It was time to actually build the game. Since the team wanted this game to have a massive focus on creators, they began building tools that they wished they had back in the day. They kept the team tight. They recruited directly from their own server community. World builders, texture artists, animators, people who had spent thousands of hours on Hypixel. And despite the growing ambition, the team wore many different hats during development. You had server admins learning how to write game code, you had texture artists figuring out UI design. And at this point, the team continued prototyping in secret, complete radio silence. They were hunting for funding, but not in the traditional way. They didn't go to EA or Ubisoft. Around 2016, some folks at Riot Games, who are massive fans of the Hypixel server, reached out with a fan letter. They asked a simple question: how are you doing this? Riot ended up investing as an angel investor. And get this, Riot didn't want to take over. They were just fans. They saw what Hypixel was doing on the server and essentially said, here's some money, go make that dream game. It was the dream scenario. Riot gave them the cash to build their Minecraft killer, but promised to stay completely hands-off. No creative control, no deadlines, just here's some money, go make some art. This allowed the team to expand from a few guys in their bedrooms to a legitimate production. The core team of roughly 40 developers would continue to work on the prototype for Hytale. Driven by a cohesive vision of what they wanted the game to be, the team spent the majority of 2015 to 2018 building out the engine and the world. Everyone was on the same page. To make the game that Minecraft should have become. By late 2018, Hypixel Studios was ready to show their hand. They had been working in the shadows for 3 years. They had no marketing budget, no E3 booth, or any TV spots. They just had a YouTube channel and a giant community. They prepped a trailer, the team was nervous. Internal estimates were humble. They were hoping for maybe 250,000 views. They just wanted enough players to fill a few servers so they could keep on developing. And on December 13th of 2018, they pressed upload. The Hytale announcement trailer didn't just get 250,000 views, it completely nuked the internet. Within a month, the trailer had over 30 million views, and today, it sits at over 60 million. It beat the reveal trailers for Red Dead Redemption 2 and Fortnite seasons. And remember, this is from a studio that didn't exist publicly the day before. But this success created a good problem. The hype was too big. The game that they had built was designed for a smaller audience. The back end, the engine, the scope, it wasn't ready for millions of players on day one. So instead of rushing the game out to cash in, they made a controversial choice. They decided to delay the game indefinitely. Then came 2020. The trailer had already broken the internet and the hype was uncontrollable. Riot Games decided to put a ring on it. They had gone from investor to owner, fully acquiring Hypixel Studios. And on paper, this is a victory. This gave them infinite stability, unlimited budget, access to Riot's QA departments, marketing teams, and infrastructure. Noxie, the project lead, called it a monumental step. But this is also where the Riot curse kicked in. With infinite money comes infinite scope creep. But it also led to the hardest decision of the entire development cycle. The team, now feeling the pressures of being a Riot studio, looked at their original engine written in Java and C# and decided it wasn't enough for a billion-dollar IP. They realized that their original engine wasn't future-proof. It would struggle on consoles and it wouldn't work on mobile. They didn't want to launch just on PC. They wanted to launch on mobile, cloud, and Switch simultaneously. If they wanted to be the next 10-year game, they needed to be everywhere. So, in a move that typically kills studios, they made the fatal decision. They decided to rewrite the entire game engine in C++. And this is where the wild part of the development cycle kicks in. For the next 4 years, the game went dark. The weekly blog posts stopped, the screenshots dried up, the community started calling it vaporware. While Riot wasn't forcing them to do this, the pressure to match Riot's standards of a global multi-platform launch crippled the game's actual development. They spent years building an engine instead of a game, and typically, when a game goes silent for 4 years after a viral trailer, we consider it vaporware. We assume development hell. But with Hytale, they were essentially restarting development after becoming famous. The last few years have been spent quietly rebuilding the foundations of the game while the community waited. They expanded from a team of just 40 modders to a professional studio, bringing in veterans from the industry to work alongside the original server creators. Cut to 2025. In June, the unthinkable happened. Riot Games looked at the project that they had been developing for over a decade now, with no release date in sight, and decided to pull the plug. They canceled Hytale. They shut down Hypixel Studios. The official reason? It was overly ambitious. The C++ engine rewrite had become a money pit, and the game was reportedly years away from being fun. It was over. The 60 million view dream was dead. But Hytale had one thing other canceled games don't: a founder with a lot of money. In November of 2025, Simon, the original creator who had stepped back during the Riot years, did something legendary. He negotiated with Riot to buy his own game back. He reacquired the IP, rehired a core team of 30 developers, and made a radical choice. He looked at the half-finished, fancy C++ engine that Riot had paid millions for, and he threw it in the trash. He went back to the legacy engine, the original Java engine from the 2018 trailer, the version that was actually fun. This version of the game was still playable and was one that the original creators were familiar with. Which brings us to today, January 2026. The game you're playing right now isn't the perfect cross-platform metaverse that Riot wanted. It's the raw, slightly janky, but incredibly soulful RPG that the modders wanted to make 10 years ago. It launched into early access just 48 hours ago, and it's kind of buggy, the optimization isn't perfect, but it's here. And ironically, by completely throwing away the AAA Riot-led portion of the game and going back to their indie roots, they finally managed to ship the game. Riot Games even tweeted a congratulations yesterday. The story of this game's development is unprecedented. Usually, indie teams rush to early access when they run out of money, but Hytale did the opposite. They took the time and the Riot money to make sure they didn't miss. Then when that didn't work, they stripped it all away and went back to the basics. They went from a Minecraft server IP to a standalone studio, to a Riot subsidiary, to being canceled, to buying the game back themselves, all while maintaining one of the most dedicated fan bases in gaming. Hytale isn't trying to be another Minecraft clone. They're trying to be the next Minecraft, and it all starts with where the game began. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.